What's up, gamers? Glenn Gordon here from PlayStation Universe. Microsoft's E3 2014 conference has just finished, and it is clear that the Washington-based company has learned its lesson after its disastrous conference just last year. From the start, we saw a very different Microsoft that was all about the games. That was the first thing they said when they walked onto the stage. Very good start. It was fast-paced. They showed game after game after game with little breaks in between. There were very few long drawn-out speeches. The biggest downside was those, I don't even know what they were, just sound bites, I guess, asking developers about how long they've played games or what games they like. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I didn't care. It was just a distraction to me. All of that aside, we saw some pretty strong announcements. We saw Forza Horizon 2, we saw the Halo collection, which was no surprise. We've been expecting that one. Phantom Dust looked phenomenal. Scalebound looked great. Actually, I really loved Scalebound because it was the only, or one of very few RPG-type games that I saw them announce, where the character model looked every bit as good as the environment around it. I mean, you look at Fable Legends, you look at even The Witcher, and the environment just looks absolutely gorgeous. And then you see this character who looks a little, just kind of sticks out a little bit, just looks a little off, looks a little weird. We didn't get that from Scalebound, so big props to Platinum Games, I believe it was, who is developing Scalebound. It looks phenomenal. If there's any one game that might get me to buy an Xbox, well, I don't know, that might be a bit of a stretch. Fable Legends was great. Let's see, yeah, Phantom Dust looks great. I really don't know exactly what it is. They weren't very detailed in talking about Phantom Dust. But Scalebound looks phenomenal. We heard a lot about Sunset Overdrive, finally. And Insomniac, as usual, as us PlayStation gamers know, Insomniac doesn't usually disappoint unless you're talking about a certain game that I will not name at this time. But Insomniac at their best, you can always expect a great game. And Sunset Overdrive looks phenomenal. Graphics-wise, I don't know, it looks great. The style looks great for the environment that they're trying to create. It looks like a lot of fun. Comes out October 28th, I believe they said. So we finally have a release date for Sunset Overdrive. Good on you, Insomniac. Looking forward to your next PlayStation-friendly title. There were a lot of timed and exclusive things, which is great for Microsoft. What Microsoft really needed this time around was content. And I think that now they've done an E3 where they're all about content. Literally everything was about content. They didn't even mention the disconnected Xbox One. They didn't even mention the new price point. They mentioned none of that. It was all games the entire way. And that is exactly what Microsoft needed. Sounds like they're finally learning their lesson. That said, there was no big shocker. There was no wow moment. A lot of the stuff that we heard was kind of expected and didn't really wow the audience that much. Again, I'm reminded of those little sound bites. So annoying. One of the sound bites, one of the guys was like, the crowd is going wild right now in the arena at the E3 conference. And then they switched the E3 conference and the audience is just about silent. Just like dead, completely dead. We didn't need any of that. Completely 100% pointless. Halo, I think, got one of the biggest reactions. Obviously, that's a huge franchise for Microsoft. And there are a lot of people with a lot of nostalgia attached to the Halo franchise. So definitely looking forward to the Master Chief Collection coming out next year. Jack Tretton was on Spike. I watched the conference on Spike. He was on Spike talking to Jeff Keighley and a couple of others. He gave Microsoft an A for their efforts. Said that it was exactly what they needed to do after last year. They're recovering. They're more focused. They're more content-driven and less distracted by all of their other projects and all the TV stuff and all the cloud stuff. They didn't mention any of that. It was all games. Microsoft needed to do that. That said, as I mentioned, I am from PlayStation Universe, so obviously PlayStation is going to be the star of the show. So can Sony compete with what Microsoft has thrown out there? I believe it can. Again, there was no big wow moment from Microsoft. Sony has a lot of potential considering what we're expecting from them. We're expecting Uncharted 4. We're hoping for Last Guardian, but I don't know. That's an iffy one. We've been hoping for that one for years now. Let's see. We've got Project Morpheus coming. We've got PlayStation Now updates. We've got the whole Vita and PS4 bundle thing that's officially been confirmed by Sony. How cool is that? The biggest thing Sony needs to do to make sure that its conference is also successful is to keep all of that extra stuff short. We do want to hear about PlayStation Now, we do want to hear about the Vita bundle, we do want to hear about Project Morpheus, but we're there for the games. We're there for the games. Sony has always been fantastic with exclusives and has always been fantastic with games. Its reputation with developers right now is absolutely sparkling. So we definitely expect Sony to do well as far as games are concerned. So Sony, bring it. I'm actually going to be at the E3 Experience in my local theater in Orlando tonight. And as soon as I get out of the theater, I'm going to give you guys my reactions on how Sony did. So stay tuned for that. Until then, I am Glenn Gordon. And remember, for the greatest news in PlayStation gaming, keep it at PSU.com.